What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Having a good Friday. We're back with another edition of the Morning View. Yes, it's the day after the night before. Now, usually, of course, we would have a special edition of Match Day Reloaded live from Panenka Studios. But today, there's just a bit too much going on. In the last 24 hours, oh my goodness me, there's been a smidge going on in the world of Manchester United when it comes to the future of the club, when it comes to Takeover, talks being held with Sheikh Jassim's representatives at Old Trafford and Carrington yesterday. Today, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, they're visiting Manchester, they're visiting Old Trafford, they're visiting Carrington as well. We're going to be talking about the details of the talks yesterday's between Sheikh Jassim's representatives and those representing Manchester United, the Rain Group and the Takeover situation. We're going to be talking about a next bid coming within the next 10 days. Could the next round of bidders enter exclusivity kind of situations with Manchester United, an exclusive period to really thrash out the finer details of a United takeover bid? We're going to be talking about all of it, the details, what's going to happen next, who's the favourites, all that kind of stuff. Plus, we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned, Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, their delegation, their representation in Manchester today. We're going to be talking about, obviously, last night's victory in Spain. Real Betis 0, Manchester United 1, 5-1 in aggregate through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Speaking of the Europa League, draw today at midday, 12 p.m. without a certain Arsenal side, eh? Oof. Did Manchester United just become the favourites? We're going to be talking about that as well. So plenty to get into this morning as always. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner because, as I mentioned, there is plenty to get into this morning. And I know what you guys will be saying. You'll be saying, Owen, did you turn off your heater? Did you turn off your heater this morning? I did. That's why if I look a bit flustered, is because I was making sure that I had indeed turned it off. Let's see what you guys are saying. Redline says, late view, Owen. You can't be 30 seconds late here because that's the standards. Good is not good enough. And that's what we want to be seeing be kept accountable. Diva says, Owen, we're not talking about Asna. Wow. You know, I think like a lot of people, I was staying up late last night watching that Arsenal game. To be honest, I after the United game, obviously you're busy, you're working. None of this is work, but you know, doing stuff and making sure that everything is happening in the world of United View. And I saw that Arsenal went 1-0 up, and I went, right, I don't want to watch anymore because that's it, right? That's just Arsenal 1-0 up. They're going to go through, and then I'm tapping away on my laptop, you know, like a madman, like I'm in Bruce Almighty, give it that. And then I see something pop up that says, you know, what a goal. And I was thinking, what is that? And then I saw the Sporting goal. Oh, my goodness me. What incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then watched the remainder of the game as it went into extra time and penalties. And just wait until you hear the Arsenal fans say, it doesn't matter. We weren't taking it seriously. We just want to win the league. No, make no mistake. Mikel Arteta played a very, very strong side last night, and it didn't work out. They dominated the game. They probably should have won the game, although Sporting had their chances as well. But they are out. Now, you could see something like this here saying, why are you happy to avoid Arsenal? I didn't say that I was happy to avoid Arsenal, but it's completely logical, isn't it, that in any cup competition, look at the one we won earlier on this season, the Carabao Cup, it benefits you as a team for the bigger teams to go out, you know, or larger teams or more difficult opposition to go out. You know, that is one of the biggest falsehoods about football, specifically tournament football, that people talk about. Well, in tournament football, you've got to beat the big teams eventually. No, you don't. You really don't need to beat the big teams. All you have to beat, I'm going to sound like Michael Owen here, is the team you're drawn against. And plenty of teams have won plenty of titles by getting good draws to the latter stages of the competition. That's it. So We'll see who we get later today. It's not going to mean that we don't get a difficult draw. There are still some good teams in it. We're going to be talking about the draw later on today as well. So there's plenty to get into this morning. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner. Let's get into this Qatar bid. The second bid that is incoming. As I mentioned, it was Qatar's turn, or Sheikh Jassim's representation's turn, to visit Old Trafford and Carrington yesterday for the second round of takeover talks as part of this exploration of strategic alternatives, a sale, hopefully, of Manchester United. Now, as I mentioned, a high-level team of representatives of Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani toured Old Trafford before sitting down for presentations at United's Carrington Training Ground complex yesterday. Now, according to Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail, it is understood that the talks, which lasted around 10 hours, remember, this was still going on when Manchester United were playing in the Europa League. It was kind of a strange situation where focusing on the game, you're looking on Twitter and you're doing all this kind of stuff, and we were still getting this sort of drip-feeding information through about what was going on in Manchester, what was the nature of these talks and how well they were going and how constructive they were. As I mentioned, it is understood, according to the Daily Mail, that the talks, which lasted around 10 hours, were cordial, extensive, and very positive. I think that would be the key two words there. Very positive. Sheikh Jassim has now around 10 days to make a second bid as he seeks total control of Manchester United. It remains unclear whether the Rain Group, who are the US bank overseeing the process, will then choose to partly to go exclusive or seek a further round of offers. So that's the thing that people don't really know too much about just yet. I think they'll have a better understanding of what they want to do after Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his delegation, if you will, meets with Manchester United and Rain today. If they're happy with him, then they might enter another round of offers and presentations and things of that nature. If they meet with Ineos or Sir Jim Ratcliffe today, and if what Jamie Jackson was saying from The Guardian a couple of days ago, that the Glazers and Rain haven't really warmed up to Sir Jim, then it might be a situation where they say, right, we're going to go in this direction for the Qatari bid and we're going to enter an exclusivity period, see if we can get a deal put together. Or it could be a situation whereby, as I mentioned, we have another round of bids and all that kind of things. Now, what has been described as a series of big hitters descended on Manchester at around 10 a.m. yesterday, with many taking the train north after flying into London, according to the Daily Mail. They included Shahaz Shabazz, president of the 9-2 Foundation, set up by the Sheikh to take over United, and Fadi Bakos, the Sheikh's senior personal advisor. They were joined by Sam Powers, who is the global head of technology, media and telecoms at the Bank of America, and Yasir Shah, a managing director with the same company, which is helping with the financial element of the Qatar-based bid. The party was met by senior members of the Rain Group, which is overseeing the process, and were shown around the club's iconic home, which is in need of substantial investment. They were then taken in a black Mercedes people carriers on the 15-minute journey to Carrington. Officials held aloft back United branded umbrellas to keep them dry. You would have seen those pictures. I think it was The Sun yesterday afternoon, released the first images of the delegations being at Old Trafford and the delegations being at Carrington. We saw the footage of them driving into Carrington in the black Mercedes and things of that nature. At the training ground, a number of departments across United's business delivered PowerPoint presentations, as I mentioned. On the football side, they were shown how United approach recruitment, which I'm sure I'd have loved to have seen that PowerPoint presentation. Wouldn't you? Oh, I'd have loved to see what did that presentation look like? How slick was it? Was it completely PowerPoint or was it Keynote? There's a difference. Did they have the old-fashioned transitions, star wipe, screen wipe, checkerboard wipe? Anything like that. And when it comes to recruitment, I mean, last summer you could argue maybe they would look at that recruitment and say we did pretty well. The end product was pretty well. They overspent dramatically. They spent ages. The primary target they didn't end up getting. They overspent for people like Anthony. We were going to get Arnautovic, then we didn't. Why did that not happen? We don't want to talk about it. We were going to get Rabiot, then his mum said no. So we ended up getting Casemiro instead. I would be interested to see if they spoke about all of that. I'm not sure if they would. But I would love to know what those presentations did consist of when it came to Manchester United's player recruitment. But it might be interesting, one would think too, if they spoke about what the future of Manchester United's player recruitment would have looked like. I mean, I doubt they would have said, we're going to go for this player in the summer, or we're interested, we're going to get Victor Osimhen. That's who we're going for. I doubt they would have said that. It probably would have been broad strokes, right? It would have been broad strokes like, this is the hierarchical structure, this is how we negotiate transfers, this is our policy, it's in keeping with the manager. I don't know if John Murtough, Manchester United's football director, spoke there as well. I'm not sure. Now, reportedly, they also spoke to executives from United's finance and commercial branches. United's owners, the Glazer family, of course, were not there, as was to be expected. Much of the focus, though, was on the financial picture, which is certainly an interesting part of that, isn't it? It's an interesting part of that because when that was put on social media last night, and when this article was released saying that most of the discussion yesterday was on the financial picture, that should hardly come as a surprise, because that's the Glazers' primary picture, isn't it? That's all they care about. You know, that the whole thing about player recruitment, that presentation, you know, like when you go to a big training day and the exciting part of the presentation, or the exciting speaker speaks for 5 minutes, and then they go, right, now on to finance, and they speak for 4 hours, and you're like, oh. Like whenever you have any induction, I used to have them before, you know, we've got to, you work in marketing, yeah? We've got to talk about competition law. Oh. We've got to talk about recommended retail prices. Oh. And then they go around the room. The worst thing is with those presentations, and I hope this didn't happen yesterday with the Qatari one. I doubt that it would. But you know when you're sitting in like a presentation at work, and it's one of those training courses that you have to go on, and then the person at the front starts pointing at people and asking them questions. And they go, so, if what I said is true, what does that mean? You. And you go, I know. And they go, it's okay if you don't know. We'll work through it together. And it's like being back at school all over again. Oh, I used to hate that. I used to like being right back at school, except this time you're older and in front of your co-workers. And not only do they know you weren't listening, but you might be stupid and you're lazy. It's a disgrace. It's a cheat. But much of the focus was on the financial picture too, because that's the only real reason that the Glazers are leaving. You know, that's the reason they're considering selling the club in the first place, is because of the financial picture. If things financially were on a relatively sure footing, they wouldn't even be considering the sale. If dividends were still freely available twice a year, if they didn't have to put money into the stadium, if they didn't have to invest in the training ground, the Glazers, they'd still be here. So that's why, really, the majority of the discussions yesterday, one would think, were on the financial picture, because that's what this is all about. It's about, okay. And also as well, it's about the Glazers trying to get the right price in their mind, even though they're not going to get 6 billion quid. But they think they could, and they think they should as well. Remember that. They're saying, and they've been taken aback recently, going, I can't believe no one wants to pay 6 billion quid for this. And everyone worth their salt is saying, because it's not worth that. And we had heard going into yesterday's talks that this wasn't really about anyone that was bidding for United trying to sell themselves to United. It was rather United trying to sell themselves to them, saying, you realise that the bid you put in, it ain't enough. If we talk about the finances that we've got here, if we talk about the revenue streams, if we talk about our assets, if we talk about our global reach, if we talk about our fan base, if we talk about 1 billion fans around the world, you're thinking 4.5 billion? No. We're thinking 6. So it's more that, I feel like. It was trying to sell to all of these prospective bidders. You've got to go higher. You've got to go higher. Whereas anyone that's got half a brain would be sitting there going, well, you're just saying this because you want more money out of me. You want to get to your price. We know what your price is. We've spoken to our people. We've done our due diligence. Everyone knows it ain't worth 6 billion. It's not. Now, someone like Sheikh Jassim and the Qatari representatives, you would think they've got the biggest ceiling, really, there, haven't they, in terms of how high they can go. And maybe that's why yesterday the talks were described as positive and constructive, because maybe Reign and United, and now the Glazers, by proxy, feel like there is room for maybe the bid to go higher. And that's what's going to be really interesting today with Sir Jim and Ineos, is what is that ceiling like? Is there a ceiling, or is it just 4.5 billion? That's what I can do. I can't do any more. I can't do any more. Now, they had said with him going there, he hoped that himself actually being there, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, having the personal touch of being in Manchester and attending these presentations and attending these meetings would, curry favour, for lack of a better term, with the Glazer family. I don't think it will. I don't think the Glazers give a shit about favour or anything like that, or people they like. What they really like is money. That's it. That's all they care about is money. Now, as I mentioned, whilst most of the focus was on the financial picture, the group was also given a tour of the Carrington Training Ground complex, which is also in need of investment. As I mentioned, Sheikh Jassim was not present for the talks, which concluded at around 7:20 p.m. Of course, there were really no Manchester United managers or players there because they were all in Seville for the game against Real Betis. But as I said too, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to be in Manchester today for all of basically the equivalent for Ineos and all that thing. We're going to talk about that later on as well. But again, it had been widely reported by not just the Daily Mail, but Sky News as well. Sheikh Jassim's delegation spent 10 hours at Manchester United yesterday, which has affirmed the pursuit of a formal bid, which could be in the next week or so. They now have had access to, or fuller access to, accounts and company documentation, which would give them a much broader picture and a much... Well, from Manchester United's perspective, they'll think if we give them a much fuller access to all of the accounts, maybe they'll drive their bid up higher. I mean, it could work the other way around, but they've got more access than they had previously. Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic said that talks between Manchester United and Sheikh Jassim's team yesterday were described as productive, with information shared on both sides. It's now being said that Sheikh Jassim, this comes from the Daily Mail once again, will launch his second bid for Manchester United. He has around 10 days. They say after these talks or after these presentations, they have 10 days to launch a second bid, and the general consensus is that Sheikh Jassim will now launch a second bid for the club after having those positive talks and positive discussions yesterday. So certainly, again, really, really, really interesting and big developments. I mean, particularly when you hear that they were having these talks, these presentations, they went to lunch, they went to Old Trafford, they went to Carrington for over 10 hours. The general consensus, and this isn't just one person reporting, it's not just Mike Keegan, it's the Daily Mail, it's Sky News. I saw Simon Stone saying it from BBC Sport as well, saying that the talks were productive and the talks were positive, and he will now be launching a second bid. Basically, he's happy to continue, and he's very happy, and he's very positive with how everything went yesterday as well, which again is a real key development in this one. Now, it'll be interesting, and I would think we'll probably see a similar kind of discussion and a similar kind of narrative today. I would probably think, so get ready for round two essentially today, but instead of Sheikh Jassim's representatives, it'll be Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. You'll see them pictured outside Old Trafford. You'll see the cars driving into Carrington. It'll be interesting to see again how long these talks go on for, if they can match to the length, because the precedent's been set now, the length of 10 hours, and it'll be interesting to see what all of the sources say coming out of the meetings tomorrow or later on today, certainly, because again, late Thursday night, the general feeling was that it was very positive and very constructive, and Sheikh Jassim was happy to go ahead. That's not a given that it will be the same with Sir Jim Ratcliffe today, but part of me feels like it probably might be. You'll hear the same thing. Maybe they won't be there as long, but you'll hear, talks were positive, talks were constructive. They're going to make a second bid, or they're considering making a second bid, something like that. I would think, I don't know. I really, really, really don't know about that. Because again, other reports just a few days ago, we spoke about it yesterday, had said that the Glazers viewed the Qatari bid as the favourite out of more, they're hoping that they can do business again in the future, and they hadn't really warmed up to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But maybe Sir Jim's right. Attending today, having the personal touch, him actually being there will help his cause. I'm not sure. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat as well. We've already got, we're only 20 minutes in, and we've already got 830 people watching live, and we're less than 150 likes. I feel like we can hit a big like number today. I feel like everyone's fired up. There's a lot of talk when it comes to the Takeover. There's the Europa League draw later today. There is a press conference as well. I'm going to be a busy boy today. We've got this show. We've got the press conference, the Europa League draw, which is at 12 p.m. And then I believe a press conference. The only issue is I don't know what time that press conference is. So stay tuned. The best way and the only way to stay abreast of the entire scope of what is going to happen today is just subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, click the notification bell if you really want to. You'll be notified every time we go live, every time a new video gets posted, all that fun stuff. That's what we can do. That's what we can do today. So if you haven't already, click that like button as well. Let's get some of your comments up on the screen as well. Although I did see there's a new Scream film out. I heard it's doing quite well. I've never seen any of them, which is shouldn't come as any surprise. I haven't seen, we went over this the other day, I haven't really seen any films legitimately, to the point where when I had that conversation with Flex the other day about not seeing any of the films, I said this to my dad the other day. I said, Dad, I was talking to Flex and I haven't seen like any films. And then he went, get up the IMDb top 100 listed films of all time. I mean, talk about, 90% and 95%. I honestly have not seen barely any of them. I know them. I know them. I know even the plot of some of them. I know how some of them end, but I haven't seen them. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. And Blue Dabba Dabba says Champions League draw live stream. Well, that's before the Europa League draw. So the Europa League draw is at 12 p.m. So we'll be doing that certainly as well. Chris Day says never seen Scream, Owen. Don't know if I can let that one go. No. Steffi Jenks says worst one to watch, Final Destination. I have seen that. I have seen many of them. Yeah, I have seen many of the Final Destination films, and I think like most people, once you see them, they do kind of freak you out a little bit, don't they? Dwayne Rogers, one of our members, says, good Arsenal going out, but there are a lot of good teams left in the competition. We need to be at our best to win this. Certainly we do, just because, let's not go too far. Arsenal are out, so we've won it. No, we haven't. There's still plenty of good teams left in it, which we're going to go on to in a bit later on in the show today. And it's always Europe. You never know what's going to happen. Also, as well, we have to take care of ourselves because, even yesterday in the first half, I know we rotated a little bit, but we still look really tired, don't we? Really lethargic and quite slow and sloppy at points. And against, as we get later on into the competition, anything can happen depending over two legs. And you've seen, like with Liverpool, for instance, I mean, the tie can be over after one leg, let alone two. So you have to really be on your game every game, and you have to be careful. And there's a lot of people saying Juventus. Yeah, well, obviously Juventus, that's their golden ticket, really, isn't it? Because they're not going to qualify, one would think, in the top four in Serie A. So that's their way of getting into the Champions League and avoiding, I guess, all-out disaster. So that's one to watch out for. I would say, possibly Paul Pogba coming back to United, but I don't even know if he'll be fit. Like, is he injured again? I think at this point. But we'll save all that talk for a bit later on. No problem there. And as mentioned, guys, be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Just a bit more on the Sir Jim Ratcliffe stuff, because I think it's important to speak about all of the bids and all of the happenings and the goings on and all of that. I know that the Qatar bids are obviously going to be dominating the headline because they were the ones chatting yesterday, and all of the news yesterday evening coming out was about them and the positivity of the talks at Old Trafford and Carrington. But as I mentioned today, there is going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe / Ineos, their delegation in Manchester, and just a few details on who that will actually consist of. Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail has said ex-Team Sky and British cycling supremo Sir Dave Brailsford will be part of the Sir Jim Ratcliffe team to visit Old Trafford today. Others in the delegation include Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself, fellow Ineos owners Andy Curry and John Rees, Ineos chair and CEO Rob Nevin, and Jean-Claude Blanc. Now, Sir Dave Brailsford is a name that does fill me with some concern, to be honest with you, because Sir Dave Brailsford, I'm not too familiar with him from British cycling. I mean, his name rings a bell from, obviously I know how successful at one point Team Sky were, but isn't that like controversial at this point in the world of cycling, isn't it? I don't know. But the reason Sir Dave Brailsford makes me nervous is I remember when the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid first came out, or there were at least discussions about the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid first coming out. I think it was Julien Laurens, is that how you pronounce his name? The French football journalist, was talking about the work that Ineos had done whilst owning Nice. and basically saying it was a mixed bag to say the least, and it didn't paint a particularly pretty picture. Now, obviously, Nice are not Manchester United, but one of the criticisms that really stood out to me about that was that Nice fans, and I'm not a Nice fan obviously, but from what I read, and you can correct me if you're a Nice fan watching this, but Nice fans were particularly upset that Sir Dave Brailsford had basically was given a senior position within the football club, and it's with no football experience, but basically because he's the right-hand man of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and it didn't go well, you know, and it hasn't gone particularly well. Take that for what you will. Again, that's Nice. And the thing is, that's what worries me, because it's one thing, okay, if that happens at Nice, what's going to happen then at Manchester United, if that's the case? You know, that's a worry. I mean, that to me, I was red flag, you know, and maybe that would be part of the discussions. I'm not sure. But again, that is a bit of a concern of mine. But as I said, it'll be interesting certainly to see what the reaction is to these talks, what people will be saying coming out of it, if they're going to be positive, if they're going to be constructive. I mean, it could really go one of two ways, you would think. It's either going to be really positive, a bit like Sheikh Jassim, 10 days, within the next 10 days, they'll make a second bid, or it could go the other way, whereby it just completely falls apart, you know, honestly. So that's going to be quite interesting, certainly. What I do want to play too, so I want to find that Julian Laurent's bit about Sir Dave Brailsford too, and I want to bring that to you. So whilst I do that, I've got a clip to play you here. Now, you might have seen this, or you may have not seen this, because a lot went up on United View last night. But we have an exclusive, yes, a United View exclusive. I shouldn't point. A United View exclusive. Flex spoke to Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea after last night's 1-0 victory over Real Betis in Spain. Flex spoke to De Gea on a variety of topics, such as what it's been like to play under Erik ten Hag, adapting his game and going through to the next round of the Europa League. So check out this De Gea interview. It's in its entirety. It's about 3 minutes, but it's well worth a watch. And as I mentioned, all of those you can check out on a wider video where Flex actually talks to Benny McCarthy again. Yeah, Benny, and apologizes for Quinton Gate. Oh my goodness me. So you can check out the full video in its entirety on the channel. But here's the De Gea interview.
David, through to the next round, we can breathe.
Yeah, of course, it's always good when you go through and go to the next round. I think we play a very good game. Maybe the first 20 minutes they press a lot, they create 2-3 big chances, but after that, I think the team played really well. We controlled the game, we scored a great goal, and I think we had already more chances to score, but it's never easy to win away from home in Europe, so big performance again.
What did Eric say at half-time? Because we did find it difficult sometimes. Like you said, we conceded a couple of chances there. What did he say at half-time to just get us to calm down?
We knew it. They're a very good team. They fit in the league, so it's a great team. It was just, come on guys, we have to win this game. Doesn't matter what happened in the first leg. So he's always showing his mentality, winning mentality. So then we came to the second half and we won. So that was a great game.
We're used to seeing Rashi just walking off, doing this, being calm. You train with him every day. That goal that he scored was unbelievable. I mean, he just keeps going and going. He won't stop.
Yeah,
what a goal.
Yeah. More to come, more to go. He's playing really well, scoring goals, big goals for us. So, yeah, it's great. A guy from Manchester, from the academy, showing his qualities. He's a very, very good player. I think he still can even go more, improve more and then score more goals and give more assists. So it's a great player for us and very important for the team.
What's the feeling that now that we're through to the next round and Fulham coming up now, can hopefully go to Wembley again? Games galore. How are you feeling, and what's the vibe inside the change rooms in terms of keeping involved in all of these competitions?
Of course, it feels great to keep winning, to stay in some different competitions. It's never easy. But to be honest, it's non-stop. It's just game, and every 3 days, it's not many time to recover. So it's good because we are winning games and we're in a good mood. So let's keep going, keep pushing. Now we have to try to recover very well and soon and prepare the game as best as we can.
It's all right for you. You don't have to run. You're okay.
That's good. I don't have to run. Let's make some saves. And but the players, they are running a lot. They put a lot of effort. Myself as well, I have to be very focused on the game, every game, so it's more mentally tight, so it's never easy. So let's keep going, keep trying winning games.
And lastly, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you how you found it under the season with Eric, with how he's wanting you to play. You know, when a new manager comes in, style of play changes, the demands on the keeper changes, etc., etc. How have you found the demands that he's put on you to play in a different type of way, and what's it been like?
So we're the same. I'm a goalkeeper. That's what I'm doing. I'm making saves, trying to help the team.
Big saves.
That's what I mean. Just make the most important thing for me is make big saves for the team. Help the team as much as I can. I think I'm doing really well. So that's the most important thing for me. The manager is happy with me. That's all I need, and the players as well. They believe in me, and I believe in myself. So that's the most important thing.
Listen, bro, we're proud of you. Keep it up. Get us through to the next round, man. Nice one.
Big up Flex for chatting to David De Gea. You know what tickles me with all that kind of stuff is that Flex there, that is such a huge moment talking to David De Gea. You know, whether you like him or not, he's got the record for the most clean sheets in Manchester United history. And I was looking at the reaction on social media and I was looking in the comments and all people were talking about was, I can't believe he touched him. I was like, the judge thing has, oh my goodness me, it's spread so much that people, you've all turned into me, okay? Don't be me and believe in the judge or anything like that because it will kill you. It will eat you alive. I was thinking like the United View community is the best because you're my kind of community because when a monumental moment like that, the real focus isn't the success of it. The real focus is, I can't believe you touched him. Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. It's tremendous. So big up yourselves and big up Flex, as I mentioned. Amazing interview, a United View exclusive. Zayn Miasi's in. Mum credit card is out just to dry up his tears from last night, saying Ramsdale got distracted by Kardashian. Or as he says, Kardashian, who was, I thought he said Kasabian. I said, when were they playing in the stadium? Anyway, we can concentrate on the league, which will win. And I said this, it'll be, we don't care anyway, we're focusing on the league. You cared last night. I saw Martin Odegaard do the interview after the game. He very much cared. He was disappointed. The crowd was there. I heard at the end of full time and extra time, the crowd were booing. I was like, you're booing? Booing what? You know, they went down to 10 men and you still couldn't beat them. And to be honest, Sporting could have won if it wasn't for Ramsdale making that big save as well. Although I did think his performance at the penalty shootout was not amazing. Descendant of the first crackhead, which is a tremendous name, has been a member for 8 months. Appreciate 8 months of support. Says Qataris all the way. Nothing against Sir Jim, but he can keep Nice. And by the way, why did we sign Butland? Well, we signed Butland just in case. Obviously, because Dubravka, you know what's crazy is Dubravka's got that Carabao Cup medal, doesn't he? He does. Did I put up 9 fingers? I thought I put up 8, like this. That was 8, wasn't it? I don't know. Well, you're always saying I put up 9 fingers. Wow. Counting's never my strong suit. It still is early. I was up late last night, preparing. Now I did get up the quote from Julian Laurens about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Nice and Sir Dave Brailsford because it was something that I remember. It stuck in my head at the time that I wanted to just read out, and then we'll move on to the Europa League stuff. So this is what ESPN's Julian Laurens said on the transfer show. Said about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Nice and Sir Dave Brailsford as well. Quote, Ineos bought Nice in August 2019 for €100 million. The intentions have been very good, to be fair. You can see he wants to do well. The investment has been good. On the Ligue 1 and Nice scale, they have spent €200 million in those 3.5 years since they have been at the club. Before Man United fans say that's not what we need to spend, or that's what we need to spend in one summer, not 3 years, Nice do not have the revenue Man United have. Ligue 1 doesn't bring in the same money the Premier League brings in. You have to remember the scale. They invested a lot of money in youth players, and to a certain extent, that has worked. However, in terms of results on the pitch, it has been a bit underwhelming. They finished 6th in the first season under Patrick Vieira, who of course was sacked today by Crystal Palace, 9th and then 5th under Christophe Galtier, who left to go to PSG. Then this season currently is a bad one because this is the thing. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has made some wrong choices. Lucien Favre was brought in as manager and he was the wrong one. He is clearly still learning, but you can't deny Ratcliffe loves football, and I think he wants to do very well in every club he owns. Now this is the key part of it. How are Ineos viewed by the Nice fans? This is what ESPN's Julien Laurent said once again. Quote, the relationship with the Nice fans has been a bit up and down. The Nice fans, especially the ultras, are hard to please. It will be the same with the United fans if Ratcliffe takes over. The expectation when he took over at Nice was huge. Suddenly they thought they could compete with PSG and the Qatari money. They thought they'd be able to compete with Marseille, their rivals, but it hasn't happened. So at times it was good, and they reached a cup final, for example, last summer, which they lost, but still there was a lot of people asking, is that it? The expectations were higher than what Ratcliffe bought. The fans were on the board, then they doubted, then they were back on board, but they haven't always understood the project and the direction. Dave Brailsford then came in, and he's not really a football man, which the fans didn't understand. It's been a mixed relationship between Ratcliffe, his team, and the Nice fans. So basically, it's not like, oh, he's doing an absolutely horrible job or anything like that. So for people to say that, oh, he's doing a terrible job at Nice, that's not really the case. But according to what Julien Laurent is saying there, the Nice fans maybe feel that he could be doing better, or the inclusion of Dave Brailsford is a confusing one because he's not a football man. And no disrespect to Nice, that's Nice. You know, you can maybe, if you're not even really getting away with it, if for including Dave Brailsford in Nice, you're definitely not going to get away with it when it comes to Manchester United. And we've seen this. We've seen this before at United, of people being involved at a high level, making key footballing decisions. It's one thing for people to be involved in business decisions that have a business background. Fine, no problem. That's their expertise. But being involved in football decisions when you've got no football experience, that leads us to disaster. That just will lead us to ultimate disaster, and we cannot have that. How often have we spoken about best in class? We need best in class, not just on the pitch, but off of it. So that would be a real concern for me. Again, that doesn't really matter. We'll see what happens today when it comes to the fallout or the reaction and the discussions, what happens when it comes to those meetings that they have. But when I did see the other day, Dave Brailsford's going to be involved, I went, just, it's not, you can't transition from one sport to another like that. It just doesn't work. I remember when Clive Woodward won the Rugby World Cup with England in 2003, I think it was, wasn't it? And then like a year later or whatever, there was rumours about him possibly becoming the Southampton manager. That was a real thing. A guy with little to no footballing experience. He'd won a World Cup in a different sport, in rugby. At one point, they were talking about maybe we're making the Southampton manager in the Premier League. And rightly so at the time. Back then, people went, that is ridiculous. Just because it falls under the umbrella of sport, it doesn't mean it translates from one thing to another. And then I think eventually he came in as performance expert. It was some one of those weird generic sport titles. I think eventually he did end up becoming a manager of a non-league team. And as one would expect, he didn't do very well because he's a rugby manager. And the same thing, Dave Brailsford, he's done great in cycling. And that's not to say that principles can't transition over, but when you're talking about the minutiae of football and running a Manchester United scale club, which there aren't many in the world, that's not Team Sky. And Team Sky, again, isn't that pretty controversial about some of the stuff that was going on there? I just don't know. I was like, what? I see what you guys are saying. Manish Patel says that was hilarious. Nathan says they think you can transfer the same skills. I remember this. Yeah, I remember it being a really big story at the time, and everyone was like, what? Simon McGill said the ownership, you have to think with your head, not with your heart, in my humble opinion. Keegan said Ted Lasso proves that is possible. Well, that is true. That is true. The only difference, I suppose, with that is that that's fiction. We made it up. But if KG's involved in anything, anything's possible. That's my kind of loophole in that. So if Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out tomorrow and said Dave Brailsford and KG the comedian are going to be the co-CEOs of Manchester United, actually, I was about to say I'd be on board. I totally would not be on board with that. That would be horrifying. KG the comedian, CEO, we've seen him do negotiations. Actually, go back and watch. We did like a transfer. I think it might have been called Deal or No Deal. I think we called it that, Deal or No Deal, last summer, where we had a transfer budget on the viewpad, and it was like 150 million, and it was KG, myself. I don't know if Flex did one, but KG and myself. KG went horrendously over budget. I mean, I think he was like minus 150 in the end. And to be honest, that's what they really ended up doing last summer. They went massively over budget anyway. So KG is perfectly in keeping with the old board. But, oh my goodness me. So if he was involved in that, KG finances, wow. And maybe that's what the next round of the bids are. I mean, we haven't seen them in a while. I vaguely remember, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I vaguely remember on KG's channel, there might have been some leaked video about certain people trying to buy Manchester United or something like that. I don't really remember. But maybe some of those people, maybe they're going to be in for round 2 of talks or something like that. I don't know. You're gonna have to go there and check it out. I don't recall. It feels like I was there, but I definitely wasn't. I'm not sure. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. We've got over 1,000 people watching. See if we can get to 250. We're not even at 250. Like, see if we can get to 300, 350, or even more as well. Jason said KG went bankrupt. Yeah, he was massively over budget. It was terrible. Lil Yo-Yo says a certain banker who works for Rain. Owen, yes. I mean, I vaguely remember this. I can't really put my finger on it. It feels like a weird fever dream or something like that. Maybe. I'm not sure. Let's talk about, again, the Europa League draw. That's going to be coming on later today. 12 p.m. later today. We'll be live for it. And we're going to see who we're going to be facing in the quarterfinals of this European competition. Of course, not the European competition we really want to be in as well. We want to be in the Champions League. Hopefully that will come next season. But just to discuss who United's possible opponents could be in the Europa League quarterfinals, we could be drawn against the likes of Sevilla, Feyenoord, Juventus, Bayer Leverkusen, Union St. Gilloise, AS Roma, and of course Sporting Lisbon, who knocked out Arsenal last night. Who would be your preferred pick out of all of those teams? Who would be the one you'd want to face out of those 7 teams there? I mean, there are still really difficult ties, and I think this is the important thing when, you can't over-celebrate Arsenal going out. Of course, does it weaken the field of opponents? Of course it does. I mean, Arsenal being in there, they're top of the league. They've only lost a couple of games this season. They're an excellent side with a very good coach and very good players. So it makes our chances better, clearly. But that's not to say that it's going to be straightforward, because there are teams there that absolutely could give us a problem. You would argue out of all of those teams, United are the strongest team, and they're probably the team I would think that's doing the best in their respective national leagues. I mean, I'm not too familiar with Union St. Gilloise, and because even Sporting Lisbon, I heard last night going into the Arsenal game that actually, in terms of their season, they haven't had the best season. They've recently turned their form around a little bit. I think they're like 7 unbeaten, but in terms of an overall season, it's been quite disappointing. But I thought they did quite well last night. Roma are doing better than they did last season. There is steady progress under Jose Mourinho in Rome. I think they're 3rd in the league, 4th in the league, something like that. I mean, Serie A this season is fascinating because the title race long gone. Napoli have basically won the league. I think 5 more wins, they win the league. It's done. And even so, they're gonna win the league. But the top 4 race is so tight. I mean, from like 6th to 2nd, 1 win will shoot you up like that. It's crazy. So Roma are doing better, and they've got good players. Obviously, they've got Dybala, they've got Tammy Abraham, Gigi Wijnaldum's just come back now from his injury too. So they've got solid players, and Jose in European competition knows how to get it done, knows how to play across 2 legs, won the Europa Conference League last season too. So that would be a fascinating game for all of the stories that he's got there. Obviously, Mourinho first facing his former club. Obviously, they've got ex-United players there. They've got Smalling. They've got Matic as well. So that would be a really interesting one. I think the one that United fans would probably want the most would be Union St. Gilloise, just because, no disrespect, but that's the easiest team. So, of course, you're going to want the easiest team. So that would be the one you're looking for. Bayer Leverkusen, how well are Bayer Leverkusen actually doing in the Bundesliga? Let's have a look. I know that they have Hudson-Odoi. I saw that they had Hudson-Odoi in their team. So they're mid-table. I mean, they're 9th in the Bundesliga as well. So you couldn't even say they're having an amazing season. Juventus, again, we know what's going on with them this season. This is really their only shot at getting Champions League. That's really what they're focusing on. And I mean, they're not the Juventus team of 3-4 years ago. That dominant, winning Serie A for like 10, 11 years straight, the one with Ronaldo in, or the one even prior to having Ronaldo in, just sheer domination. It ain't that. And obviously they're going through quite a lot, but they've still got quality players. You know, they've still got Angel Di Maria. They've still got Vlahovic. Who knows if Pogba's even going to be there? They've got Chiesa, who I think he did pick up an injury, but it wasn't that serious. Like, they've still got, obviously, quality players, and that would still be a tough European game and a really interesting one. I'd fancy us to probably beat them, but make no mistake, it would be difficult. That would be a tough one, particularly because they'd be so up for it, because that's their only shot. So Juventus would probably be the worst case scenario. Feyenoord would be a fascinating one as well, because I remember after we beat Barcelona, Robin van Persie was there, and they were saying, "Oh, what happens if they get Feyenoord?" He was like, "Oh, I don't know where my allegiances would lie." Didn't they absolutely batter? Who did they play? Was it Shakhtar last night in the Europa League, something like that? And I think they won. Was it, how many goals did they score? I saw it kept just popping up over and over and over and over again. It was crazy. Let's have a look who they faced last night. Yeah, 7-1. 7-1. 7-1 against Shakhtar. Man, that is nuts. But then the funny thing was, it was 8-2 on aggregate. So it went in 1-1. Talk about a complete turnaround. So clearly, I mean, they're doing well. They're in decent form. Where are they in the Eredivisie as well? See if we can find out that in a second. Because I know, again, the Eredivisie is quite an interesting one this season too, isn't it? Top of the Eredivisie. Oh, they're playing well this season, aren't they? Jeez. Top of the Eredivisie, lost one game all season domestically. Last 5 games, won them all in very good form. Ajax have kind of turned it around a little bit, haven't they? Look at them. Look at them. Go on, Ajax. After Schroeder has been sacked, now they're second, 3 points off top. Oh, man. Wow. Ajax, I guess Alfred Schroeder was really not the guy. But I got distracted there again. Shock. Feyenoord would be, again, you would expect us to win. That won't be easy. Not at all. That would be challenging. And Sevilla, aren't Sevilla doing absolutely terribly? I swear, and Sevilla like nearly in the bottom of the table. They've moved up a little bit, I guess. They're 13th in La Liga. I remember a couple of weeks ago they were really low. And now they've kind of crawled up. I was shocked the other day seeing that Valencia at one point were 19th as well, but they're just out of the relegation zone too. So realistically, the teams you'd want to avoid there, you'd probably say Juventus, even though, again, I know Juventus aren't really Juventusing at the moment, but that's still going to be a difficult game. Roma, you'd probably want to avoid. Feyenoord, I mean, it'd be a tough one because they're in good form. And irrespective of the league they're in, if they're in good form, it does translate sometimes. Sevilla, I know that they're the quintessential, that's what they're Europa League, they're Europa League specialists, but they got knocked out by West Ham last year in the Europa League. So I think that mindset of Sevilla being that big, they always do it in the Europa League, they don't anymore. They just, no. So, I mean, I'd even be fairly comfortable with that. We've done all right in Spain so far this year. Wow. Apart from, yeah, we have actually, because we beat Real Sociedad 1-0 away. We drew with Barcelona 2-2, and we should have won that game. And we won yesterday. We're unbeaten in Spain, actually. You know what? That whole idea that United don't do well in Spain, we've kind of overcome that a little bit this season. So that's pretty good for Manchester United. So bit of confidence there. But the one you really want would be Union St. Gilloise. But who would you guys want? Let me know in the chat. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Daher here says, Juventus are light work for us, bro. They are crap. Nathan says, Roma, I would love to play. G-Man says, I don't want to avoid anyone. Bring them all on. Well, obviously. Ashley says, I'd rather play an Italian side. Splashnet says, Sevilla in the relegation zone will somehow win the Europa. Yeah, I remember at one point, a couple of weeks ago, they were really struggling. And I guess seemingly they've turned it around a little bit. Lil Yo-Yo says, send me another Spanish team. Kristen says, Union St. Gilloise. I mean, it's not shameless to say you want the worst team. It's completely logical. So that narrative, and this is what's weird about like football fandom or football Twitter nowadays. Is I saw a really good post about this the other day, that there are these weird unwritten rules that completely contradict themselves when it comes to football Twitter. There was a picture of they were United fans. There were 2 United fans, and they were traveling. I think they'd been to an away game, and they were traveling in a coach, and they were asleep, and they had on United shirts, and they had names on the back. I think one of them was Anthony, and I'm not sure what the other one was. And this account was pointing at them going, look at these fans. They've got shirts with the name on the back. Ha, 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 ha. What? They're not allowed to, are they? You're allowed to support your club in any way you want to do it. Don't let other people dictate to you what you're allowed and not allowed to do when you support your club. Some people go, oh, look at them. They're wearing a scarf. Then wear a scarf. Fine, no problem. You don't go to games. Why? Because you're in another country. Well, they can't get to games, but they celebrate them. They probably celebrate the team more than you do because they get up at like 2:30 in the morning to watch a game that ends up being 0-0. You sit through Ralph Rangnick ball last season when you lose to, I don't know, Watford 4-1 at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Then you say you're a real fan. Okay, that's what real fandom is right there. And it comes back to the draw. If you celebrate, if we get Union St. Gilloise later and you celebrate that, look at these fans. Look at them, shameless, celebrating getting an easy draw. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You're allowed to do whatever you want. Or if you're going to celebrate us getting Juventus, cool. Like, again, that's fine. You know, it's just, I don't understand that. You know, it's crazy. Or if you celebrate after beating a team that isn't that great, look at these fans. Why are they celebrating too much? But if you don't celebrate enough, look at these fans. They don't even celebrate no limbs. It's like, what? And it was a really good point that was brought up in that post. And I was like, I don't understand. Maybe I'm too old now. I don't understand the rules of like football fandom, of what you are or aren't allowed to do. And whatever reason, those rules are dictated to you, not even sometimes by fans of your own team, by other people. Like it is bizarre. Like absolutely bizarre. I really don't get that. I really don't. It was odd. But yeah, so that's going to be coming up later on today. As I mentioned, 12 p.m. GMT over here in the UK will be the Europa League draw. We'll be live with that. So we'll see who Manchester United will be facing next in the Europa League quarter-finals. And obviously the games continue to come thick and fast. Sunday, we'll have the FA Cup match against Fulham at home. Hopefully getting to the semi-finals of the FA Cup, going to Wembley. That's positive too. So it continues to come, and then obviously we've got the international break. Is the international break after this weekend? I think it is, isn't it? International break is after this weekend. Oh yeah, because the squads were announced yesterday. Oh my goodness me. I mean, Harry Maguire getting into that England squad when he's played basically no football. Oh, like I really didn't understand. But then that's what Gareth Southgate does when it comes to like these England squads. You can name the majority of them before they've even come out, can't you? About what they're going to consist of, who's going to be in it and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's why, you know, people have said this season about, is Harry Maguire going to be worried that he's going to lose his space in the England squad? Of course he's not. You know, no. Calvin Phillips is in that squad. How many minutes of football has he played this season? You know, once again, Tomori not in it. I don't understand this guy. I really don't, Gareth Southgate. People said at the World Cup, that you were negative regarding Southgate. No, I just don't think he's it. And we've lived through this. I mean, there'll be people watching today that are older than I that have seen this more times than me. But how many times do we, as an England fan, have to sit through a real quality generation of talent that's ultimately wasted because the person that's managing them doesn't have a clue how to use them? I mean, think about it. Marcus Rashford was on fire, even going, it's such a misnomer that, he wasn't on form going into the World Cup. Yes, he was. He absolutely was in form going into the World Cup. He was in form at the World Cup. That game against France that we went out in, how long did he come on for? A few minutes at the end, you know? And then Gareth Southgate came afterwards with this nonsensical explanation of, well, if I'd have played him and I didn't play someone else, you'd have said, why didn't you play Phil Foden? And everyone went, no, we would have said, you should have played Rashford. He was on form. It was dumb. It was stupid. And so, I mean, but people like Maguire, they're going to be in the squad. Luke Shaw being in there, again, not surprising because he's a Southgate favourite being in the England squad. But I do have a little bit of concern because he has looked, I don't know what you guys think, but I think he has looked really tired in the last few weeks and really fatigued. And I know they're qualifiers, so they're important games against Italy and Ukraine. But at the same time, I do think that, I mean, he didn't play yesterday, which was the right call by Ten Hag. You would think, play at the weekend against Fulham at Old Trafford, but I don't know. But maybe he won't start. But looking at the people that are in there, maybe Chilwell will start over him. I'm not sure. But what is going to be interesting, certainly, and you know for a fact, back in the day, Sir Alex Ferguson he used to always do this. It got to international break, and if the players were a little bit tired, he would just say to them, just don't go. Yeah, don't go. Say, just pull out for whatever reason. Say, got an injury or whatever. Just leave it. They'll let you back in next time. It'll be fine. But I mean, it's not even necessarily just the England players there. I mean, because I tell you now, if something happens to Marcus Rashford on international duty and he's injured, I'll be livid. I mean, I don't even really like Gareth Southgate that much anyway as a manager. But if something happens to him over the next 2 weeks, I would be furious. Absolutely furious about it. It's crazy. Tavislol says Ben White and Fekir Tomori still not good enough. That's a madness. I don't, honestly. I think the Ben White thing, honestly, might have something to do, I mean, I don't know, with him, with the World Cup and all that kind of stuff. But the Tomori one, I really don't understand that at all. And Blue Dabby Dabadai says, didn't expect Vieira to get sacked, to be honest. Yes, that was the news this morning as well, that Patrick Vieira has been sacked as the Crystal Palace manager. It was announced at 8 o'clock this morning. And don't Crystal Palace have to play Arsenal this weekend? Isn't that the game? So the Arsenal fans are now talking about, new manager bounce, all that kind of stuff. Nah, I mean, look, they're playing at home at the Emirates against Crystal Palace with no manager. They're not going to get their manager in, their new one in before then. So I don't know if we'll see a new manager bounce or anything like that. Is it St. Patrick's Day today as well? It is. Patrick got sacked on St. Patrick's Day before he plays his old team. If we had the rights to play the X-Files music now, I'd play it. It's too much. Patrick gets sacked on St. Patrick's Day before he plays Arsenal. That's my impression of it. Freaky. It's not St. Patrick's Day. Is it? Well, I went on Google and I just clicked and I saw a clover and I went, it must be St. Patrick's Day. It's not St. Patrick's Day. When is St. Patrick's Day? It's today. It's today. Who's gaslighting me? Look at DJ Mats. Ain't St. Patrick's Day. It is. It is. It is. Don't lie to yourself. St. Patrick's Day today. Oh, it isn't Patrick's Day. Oh, it's gone right over my head. Oh. The show's descended into chaos once again. Oh, well, you know what? That's the perfect way to end the show. Be sure to smash your like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I do need to have another coffee. I mean, you know what it is? It's match days. They're always late. They always end up late. Then it's up early next day. Yesterday it's Heatergate. Today it's Patrickgate. Oh, St. Patrick's. I don't know. I do. Forget it. I'll be back at 12 p.m. for the Europa League qualifying draw. I'm out of here. Smash the like and like button. Peace.